All right, let's dive into something called incident response. Now, I know it might sound like just another piece of IT jargon, but trust me, it's one of the most important defense strategies anybody has in our crazy digital world. So we're going to break down what it is and why it matters so much. Just think about it for a second. Right now, data is just streaming all around us. It's powering global markets, it's powering your social media feed, it's powering everything. It really is like the invisible electricity of our time, this constant, vital flow. So what happens when somebody decides to mess with that flow, to cut the line, or even worse, to poison the well? Yeah, that's when things get really serious, and the stakes are incredibly high. Before we talk about the solution, you really have to get a sense of just how big the problem is. We're all living on this unseen digital battlefield, and honestly, the front lines are absolutely everywhere. Let's start with a number, 20%. So back in 2020, a full fifth of all security breaches happened because of issues tied to remote work. You know, the very thing that gave us all this amazing flexibility also swung the door wide open for attackers. And it doesn't stop there. A full 33% of all incident response cases that same year involved ransomware. That's basically digital kidnapping, where your own critical data is held hostage. And as you can see, it is shockingly common. And the result of all this, it's just staggering. Over 44 billion records were exposed in breaches that were reported publicly. That is not just a number. It's a mountain of our personal info, our financial data, and our company's secrets all ending up in the wrong hands. So when you're facing that kind of threat, what do? You can't just cross your fingers and hope for the best. Nope. You need a plan for the crises. And this is where the power of preparation, what we call incident response, really comes into play. So what is it exactly? Well, incident response isn't just one thing. It's a whole systematic approach. Think of it like a playbook that's ready to go, designed to help you spot an attack, shut it down, and get back on your feet, all while protecting the stuff that really matters. But here's something that is, frankly, kind of alarming. A staggering 51% of organizations don't have a formal plan at all. They're just winging it. Whether it's because of the cost or it seems too complicated, the result is the same. They're trying to figure out what to do in the middle of a digital fire. But just look at the difference a plan makes. On average, the companies that do have a formal, tested incident response plan save about $1.2 million per breach compared to the ones that don't. The payoff for being prepared is absolutely massive. You know, I love this quote because it just makes the whole idea crystal clear. You don't start looking for the fire escape when the building is already full of smoke, right? You practice, you prepare, you build that muscle memory so when a real crisis hits, your response is just automatic and, more importantly, effective. Okay, so what does a good plan actually look like? Well, one of the most respected models out there comes from the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST, and they break the whole process down into 4 really clear, manageable steps. Here's the roadmap. It all kicks off with preparation. From there, you move into detection and analysis. Then comes the main event, containment, eradication, and recovery. And you wrap it all up with post-incident activity. Let's take a quick look at what each of these really means. So, step 1 is preparation. This is literally everything you do before an attack even happens. It's where you build your response team, figure out who's in charge of what, lock down your systems, and, this is a big one, train your people. A prepared team is your absolute best first line of defense. Next up is detection and analysis. This is basically the detective work. Your team is on the hunt for clues, those little signs that something is wrong. They have to figure out if an alert is a real threat or just a false alarm, understand how the attackers got in, and then prioritize the whole thing based on how bad it could get. Okay, now we're in the firefight. Step 3 is all about action. First, you contain the problem. You isolate the infected computers to stop the bleeding. Then you eradicate the threat, getting it out of your system completely. And finally, you start the careful process of recovery, bringing everything back online safely. And finally, the step that so many people forget but is absolutely critical, post-incident activity. This is the debrief. The team gets together and analyzes exactly what went down, writes down every single lesson learned, and then uses all that knowledge to make the defenses even stronger for the next time. An incident isn't really over until you've learned from it. So we have this great 4-step framework, right? But technology never stands still, and you can be sure the attackers don't either. The future of how we defend ourselves is already here, And it's all being driven by automation and artificial intelligence.
This is a really fundamental shift. We're moving away from a defense that relies only on humans to this powerful partnership between people and smart, automated systems that can react at machine speed.
And the advantages here are huge. Automation gives you real-time detection, it slashes your response times, and it helps reduce what we call alert fatigue. That's when your human experts get so overwhelmed with alerts that they start missing the important ones. It can even handle the small stuff on its own, which frees up the team to focus on the biggest fires. Now, if automation is the engine, AI is the super smart driver. It can sift through millions of alerts to find the one that's a real threat. It can automatically quarantine a compromised device before the infection can spread. It can even start to predict new attacks by analyzing old ones. And the bottom line? Response time gets crushed, from hours down to just minutes. Ultimately, what this is all about is building a resilient digital fortress. But here's the catch. This isn't a stone castle that you just build once and you're done. It has to be a living, breathing defense that is constantly learning, adapting, and evolving to take on whatever comes next. Which really just leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In a world where the threats are always changing, where the only constant is change, the most important question you can ask is pretty simple. Is your defense ready to evolve too?